our reading a moment ago by Isabel Wilkerson, she spoke of an America that is an inherited house. One that perhaps looks fine on the outside, but that is built on an unstable foundation with cracks that have been patched over here and there over the decades. We didn't build the house, yet it is the house that we currently inhabit. What happens now is our responsibility. Wilkerson uses the flaws of the house as a metaphor for durable inequality, class and race-based stratification that persist for generations. Most Unitarian Universalists can appreciate this metaphor. Living in the United States today, we have, in fact, inherited a very complicated, imperfect history that is now ours to deal with. We might bring that metaphor a little closer to home, though, to really personalize it. I suggest that we inherit a house as an individual. We inherit a personality and a complex psychology. So much of how we are built in our head, in our hearts, so much of what we think of as our self is inherited. It's a combination of genetic and environmental ingredients, forces beyond our control that built this house that's now our responsibility. Some of that inheritance is a gift. We each have innate coping strategies and natural intelligences. Some of that inheritance is a challenge, though. We each have insecurities, weaknesses, and some unhealthy ways of avoiding the world around us. But this is our house. This is the reality of the moment. The choice is ours, what we will do with it. In Buddhist tradition, it's believed that in the cycle of karma and rebirth, we're born into a particular life because that particular life has the lessons that we need to learn in order to grow. As human beings, we're actually very lucky because the human life offers a rich combination of both joy and suffering. This life is replete with lessons that can pave the way to enlightenment. I don't know if I personally believe in the mechanics of rebirth and the sorting of souls into particular lives. Still, there is something very, very wise about recognizing the particular challenges of this life, of your life, of my life, as opportunities to grow into a uniquely better version of ourselves. We're looking at the enneagram at Tapestry because, as Dave mentioned, it can be a tool for better understanding our mental, emotional, spiritual composition. The enneagram is a tool for taking a hard look at the personality that we have inherited. It can be a tool to come to embrace the experiences of this life as lessons or possible lessons. Of course, the enneagram is not a perfect tool. Personal and spiritual growth never come in packages that are perfect or easy. But it's a tool that many people have found useful for identifying their strengths and potential areas for growth, shall we say. I want to spend a little time just today describing 3 more types. Last month I talked about the 8, the achiever, type 9, the peacemaker, and type 1, the perfectionist. For full transparency, I am a type 8, an achiever through and through. So is Amanda Wainwright. Even after taking the test 5 times, because she didn't like that our personality type associates her with a certain infuriating and embarrassing recent president of the United States. Today, I want to talk about type 5, the investigator, type 6, the loyalist, and type 7, the enthusiast. One of these might describe you or someone that you know very well. The one-word name for each of these types is a better description than some of them. For the investigator, the world is a big puzzle. Type 5s want to possess knowledge, to understand the environment, to have everything figured out. Having all the information helps type 5s feel safe from threats. They have intense curiosity, and they want to understand how the world works on a lot of different scales, whether it's the cosmos or a sewing machine or growing vegetables in the dirt or music theory. They always are searching and asking questions for deeper understanding. Now, potentially good Unitarians, their curiosity is laced with a healthy dose of skepticism. Rather than accepting the opinions of others or doctrines passed down, they seek to know from their own experience. One graphic artist described it this way. He said, "As a 5, I want to have an understanding of life. I like having a theoretical explanation about why things happen as they do. This understanding makes me feel in charge and in control. I most often learn from a distance as an observer and not a participant. Sometimes it seems that understanding life is as good as living it. It's a difficult journey to learn that life must be lived, not just studied." 5s thrive on confirmation and recognition, getting verification that they understand how things work. Every gift comes with its challenge, of course. The curiosity of 5s distract them from some of the core issues of life, things like relationships and personal finance and basic health. The challenge of 5s is to understand that they can pursue whatever curiosity they want and still maintain those core life necessities. Now, each of the enneagram types has a direction that it moves toward in times of stress or in health. This is a little bit why I chose the story of the web earlier. In the enneagram model, in stress, a type moves toward the worst characteristics of another type. In health, it takes on the best characteristics of a different type. So if you know your enneagram type, this can be one of the most useful tools for observing your own behavior at various moments. If you're moving toward health or unhealth, you can see that. So considering our type 5s, the investigators, when 5s are stressed out, they begin to look like hyperactive type 7s. That means that they get really unfocused and all over the place and scattered. When 5s are doing well, they move toward a feeling of self-confidence and decisive decision-making. They take on some of the healthy characteristics of a type 8. The second enneagram type that I want to talk about today is a type 6, and I know at least one of you is a type 6, the loyalist. 6s are the most loyal to their friends and their beliefs. They will go down with the ship, as it were, and hang on to relationships of all kinds way longer than any other type. 6s are also loyal to ideas and systems and beliefs, even the belief that all ideas and authorities should be questioned and defied. You see, these loyalists can be quite rebellious in a way in their commitment to individualism. The reason 6s are so loyal is that they don't want to be abandoned and left without support. For some reason or another, 6s don't feel like they have the internal resources to handle life's challenges alone. That can sound kind of weak, but let's be honest, no one can handle everything alone. 6s may be more aware of the interdependent web of life and understand that preserving those connections is really essential to our safety. The sixes' need for reassurance can foster an avoidance of making their own decisions. One type 6 that I saw online put it this way: as my anxiety has come under control, so has my need to check out everything with my friends. I used to have to get the nod of approval from several authorities. About nearly every decision would involve a council of my friends. I would usually ask this one-on-one. What do you think, Mary? If I do this, then that might happen. Please make up my mind for me. But recently, I've narrowed my authorities to just one or two trusted friends. And on occasion, I've actually made up my own mind. The pitfall for sixes is that by trying to build a safe environment, they sometimes don't resolve their own emotional insecurities. When sixes learn to be able to quiet their internal anxiety, they can appreciate the greatest gift of all, which is a peace of mind. In terms of other types they move toward in stress or growth, when they're really stressed out, sixes move toward looking like an unhealthy 3. That's to say, they look competitive and arrogant. But when moving in the direction of growth, sixes become more relaxed and optimistic. The best qualities of the peacemaker, the type 9. So one more type. Type 7 is the enthusiast. These people are extroverted and optimistic and versatile and spontaneous. They sound like a whole lot of fun. I see some glances happening in the congregation. Well, enthusiasts can also misapply their many talents, becoming overextended, scattered, and perhaps undisciplined. They constantly seek new and exciting experiences, but can become distracted and exhausted by staying on the go. As their name suggests, sevens are enthusiastic about almost everything that catches their attention. Their approach to life can be sort of like a kid in a candy store. They have a chutzpah, I guess you could say. Sevens are also fast learners, both absorbing information and physical skills. They're sort of Renaissance people. There's, of course, a challenge there. Often, type 7s don't know what to do or how to make choices that will benefit themselves or others, or at least they feel that way. So 7s cope with that anxiety in two ways. First, they keep their minds busy all of the time, staying on the go with stimulation. And second, they cope with their lack of inner guidance by using a trial and error method of trying everything to determine what they want. But that's often at the detriment of enjoying one really good thing. They're naturally cheerful and good-humored, not taking themselves too seriously or taking anything too seriously, really. Mimicking the worst and best of other types. When moving toward stress and disintegration, on bad days, 7s can become perfectionistic and deeply critical, like a type 1 on a bad day. But when moving toward growth and health, type 7s become more focused and fascinated by life, like a healthy type 5, the healthy investigator. So before wrapping this sermon up, I want to return briefly to that metaphor of an inherited house or an inherited personality. Just like taking a hard look at the real history of the United States, coming face to face with the house that we inherit in our hearts, coming to see the complex challenges of our own mind, 3 different options present themselves. Tara actually spoke of these beautifully last Sunday as our worship associate, as she was talking about activism. First, we can do what most of us do most of our lives, and I will include myself in this. We can patch things over and ignore the problems. We don't have the capacity to deal with the enormity of the world's problems that the internet puts on display for us. And confronting our own demons honestly is a super daunting prospect. It's not the stuff of polite conversations, and even our friends have a limited bandwidth for that stuff. It's a lot easier to throw on a coat of paint and move forward with a pretty life, even if there are some structural problems underneath. The second option is probably the most painful. That is to recognize our challenges and become overwhelmed by them, wallowing in pity either for ourselves or for the state of the world. Option 2 is not a fun place to be, but it is possible to live in that state of trauma, outrage, and overwhelm. In fact, I think much of media encourages this way of being, feeding us an endless supply of fuel for the emotional dumpster fire. It's not a good place to be. But I have been there too, both in overwhelm at the world and overwhelm at my own messy heart and mind. And finally, the third option is to, with eyes wide open, look at the house we have inherited and begin doing the work of repairing it. One brick, one belief, one relationship at a time. Trying to fix the whole house in a day is a bad, bad idea. It will surely jettison us back to phase 1 or 2. But if we move slowly with intention, progress can be made. In reality, we shift among these ways of being when dealing with ourselves. No one, and I mean no one, has the bandwidth to consistently live in the third option, to always be mindful and always seeking self-improvement. But every once in a while, we feel strong, or we want to seek some growth for ourselves or someone that we love. Every once in a while, we bravely step into taking an honest look at ourselves and seeking change. The enneagram is one tool, one free and widely accessible tool that might be useful when you want to make some repairs or take stock. You might, hopefully with more success than Dave, try taking a free test online if you want to learn more. Actually, definitely include the word free in your search for a test. Or perhaps you have another method that you have found successful, or another method of exploring yourself that you want to learn about. If so, we would love to hear about those too. Amen.